Okay, we'd like to call the meeting back to order. We're still just a little bit ahead of schedule, but I think everybody that is presenting is present. Next item on our agenda are our fire district requests, and we're going to start off with introductions by Steve Langer.
Good evening. So we have three departments coming before you tonight requesting a tax increase in their fire district tax. First, we have Midland, so we'll have Chief Alan Burnett come up and join us. Midland is requesting a 1.6 cent increase. This will generate approximately $88,076 in new funding for the department.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come up here and speak to you. The increase we are asking for is 1.6 cent, as Mr. Langer indicated. The additional funds it will generate, but also we have to, ask from two entities, being the town of Midland, and that will generate additional funding. And the increase from the town of Midland, and although not formally adopted yet, was presented on the second Tuesday in May to the Midland Town Council, and in the presented budget by the town manager was the increase and recommended by the town manager to the town council. And the increase we're asking for is going to be utilized to put 3 round-the-clock firemen on out of Station 2 up on 27 toward Flowstore Road, and that's going to help us with our coverage. The 3 additional firefighters around the clock will go a long ways toward assisting us, not only in providing life safety, better life safety to the citizens of the area, but also ISO. As you know, one of the measures that departments are measured by as far as the number of personnel they put on the fire scene. And per Department of Insurance of SFM, you have to have a minimum of 4 firefighters on a structure call, fire alarm. That number's a little misleading, because I could have 4 firefighters on the scene as long as they have the 36 hours of training, but they still could not be interior firefighters. They cannot go in and do the job. They can stand outside, they can pull hose, they squirt water from the outside, but they are not an interior firefighter. And that's how some of the numbers are misleading sometimes. And this will go a long ways toward helping with that situation. And in Midland, we are growing. The town is growing, the area is growing. We have new industry coming in, as y'all know, that's been approved. We have Corning. We have a lot of infrastructure that we're charged with protecting, and the increase is needed.
Alan, did you have an increase last year? I don't remember.
No, sir. The only increase we have had in the past probably 20 years was we went from 5.5 to 6.4 at the last eval, and that was in order to keep us at revenue neutral. That's basically the last increase we've had in 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
So I assume your conversations with Midland then went well, from what you said?
Yes, ma'am. Like I say, it was recommended to the council for the.
Okay. And to clarify on the 3 firemen, you said they would be, will they be the interior?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They will meet all the requirements that's set forth by the fire marshal's office now. As far as the $30,000 staffing goes, they will be firefighter 1 and 2, emergency vehicle operator, all the requirements set forth.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Current tax rate? Your current rate?
Current is 6.4, so
6.4.
with the 1.6, they would go to 8 cent.
To 8 cent even?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate you
Thank you.
coming to talk to us.
At your desk, you have a spreadsheet that highlights the 3 fire departments that are coming this evening and provides you a little bit of the different information of their current tax rate, their requested tax rate, and the difference of the funding. Kristen provided this for you for your use.
All right, next we have the Northeast Fire Department. We'll ask Board President Pat Bergeron and Fire Chief Kevin Kirk to come up. Northeast is asking for a 2-cent increase. This will provide approximately $22,496 in additional revenue. Currently, their tax rate is 10.7. This would take them to 12.7.
Well, Kevin, first of all, I'll start off by telling the commissioners that we appreciate what you done for us last year. The 4 cents that we acquired last year from you really helped our department, our community tremendously. It went for staffing, and a little program that Steve, we talked about and everything was a pay-per-call type deal, and we were used some of that money for a pay-per-call where we're getting more people on the scene and giving them a little stipend for the calls that they run and keep them motivated. And so we're putting about 15 people, an average of from between 1 and 15 people on the scene now. Big difference from last year whenever we sat here and talked, okay? So we greatly appreciate it. Chief?
All right. Again, thank you for your time. My name is Kevin Kirk. We'll start, like he said, just kind of elaborate on something, the money that we've spent since last year. We've increased part-time staffing to 1 person, 24 hours, 24/7. We've also put in place, like he said, the pay-per-call to increase personnel on the scene, and both have done that. They have increased. We've had personnel showing up for all calls. And also Northeast has not missed a call since implementation of both. So we've had response for everything. And like he said, has increased response as much to 15 personnel on scene. We've also had the minimum of 4 personnel to fire calls, which is required by ISO. And we're also used the money to installing 3 hydrants on Highway 49, that which will also assist us with lowering our ISO. And they're being started. Do you know the date?
We're hoping to start next month.
Next month, yeah. There's some things with the city that we're waiting on that held us up on that. So ISO requirements, we always say that we want to increase to lower ISO, which is what our ultimate goal is, to lower into a 6. And you can see on here what we're wanting to do with that 2-cent increase for this year. We're wanting to use that money for a new engine company. Our engines now are a 99 and 94, so they're coming up on, have some age on them. NFPA recommends 20 years on a frontline engine, so they're getting close to that. That doesn't mean we can't use them after that, but the dependability of those apparatus, it'll start to go down, and safety is our number 1 priority on that. So if you can see on the fire department points, engine companies will get us 6 points max credit for that. So that's what we're trying to push for. Personnel, which we've worked on, and training, things like that. We're working on that, constantly working on that, getting personnel on scene. But we also need the apparatus to get them to the calls. So that's kind of where we're at now. Again, our aging fleet, again, like I said, 20 years recommends for frontline engine company, and we've only had 2 new apparatus since 1975. We've had an engine company from Poplar Tent Fire Department, and then we've had a new brush truck in 98 on that brush truck. So, and then the new engine company was a 94. It's the only new apparatus that we've had at Northeast. So we're kind of doing our part to try to better our fire service in Northeast, but we also need assistance from the commissioners also in the county. To do that, a new engine company costs $430,000, which is what we've spec'd out through different makers. So if we prepay if we prepay, we could save $15,000, so the new engine would be $415,000. But what Northeast Fire Department will need is that money up front. We currently do not have that money, that much money in our banking account, so we would ask for the $415,000 with a 15-year non-interest loan. So that's coming from the county. So what we're going to do to assist that is eliminate paid staffing from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Monday and Tuesday nights. That will generate $12,480, so which would add to our apparatus fund equal $27,994. That would help, and then we'll use the remaining $6,981 to go to the equipment fund for because we'll have air packs coming up for replacement in the near future also. By eliminating those 2 nights, those are our slowest our calls volume, our Monday and Tuesday nights. So we're trying to lower. Those are 2 nights that we can cut out to save us money and put towards a new apparatus. And also that gives a consistency for the volunteers to know those 2 shifts are open, so they need to make sure they respond to these calls also at that time. And you can see the graphs as they go through. You can see where our call volume is lower on those Monday and Tuesday nights. So, and we've got this information from Steve. He helped us out with that. So our current rating is a 9S, and we're working toward a 6. And by doing that, we'll have to have, we've increased staffing, installed hydrants, and we'll also need assistance by a new apparatus to help us lower that rating to get ultimately to a 6. And that's as far as, that's all I have. Pat, do you have anything to add?
The cost of the truck that we're speccing is considerably lower than what the normal truck that's being purchased in this county. Most companies in this county, engine companies, pumpers, they're speccing trucks that's costing $500,000, $565,000. And so basically, we're going to purchase the same truck without all the bells and whistles that runs up the cost of a truck. So we want, to take into consideration that the truck we're speccing is $430,000, but it's a lot less than what the average truck cost is in this county.
One other thing also, talking to the Pierce manufacturer is who we talked to get the price for this truck. He also told us that each year they'll go up on their prices, just 3% usually each year. So if we continue to wait, these trucks are going to just continue to increase in price. So that's something that we kind of talked about. And build time for the trucks are, by the time we spec everything, they do the pre-construction and the build time, you're looking at 6 to 8 months to get the truck to Northeast Fire Department. So it does take time to get these the apparatus to us. So so just to add a little bit there. But that's good. That's all we have as far as for our increase. If there are any questions, just let us know.
When we added the 4 cent to your tax base last year,
Yes, sir.
and what was your ISO rating then?
It's a 9. It was a 9S. And
So it's the same.
It's
The
still
4
the same.
cent
Yes,
didn't really
sir.
make any difference on the ISO rating.
We have to send for an inspection through the state for them to come down to give us an inspection for a 6. So we're trying to get everything together before we do that, to make sure that once we have that inspection that we're a 6.
Is that ISO rating, is it specific to the district? Is the further out, is it a higher ISO, or is it a lower ISO if it's in, say, a mile versus 6 miles or 8 miles?
It's specific to the district, and it just depends on the district and whether or not the district is a 5-mile district or a 6-mile district. You can only get up to, You can only lower the rating within 5 miles. Once you go beyond 5 miles from the station, you can't get anything better than a 9. That's where in the past, we've had to build, or some of the departments have had to build additional stations. Odell had to build one, and then Midland built their second station to cover area that was beyond 5 and 6 miles.
And you got areas that's way beyond 5 miles, I think.
We have a section between us and Reimer out Clutch Road that we call no man's land.
Right.
Right, it's beyond the mileage.
Yeah, well, there was a time, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory serves me right, that there was some type of a discrepancy about getting to the calls, couldn't get enough people to show up to the calls. And of course, as you said, you had to have 4, 2 in, 2 out. But has that helped, has the increase helped you to get more people on the calls? You said you have up to 15 now.
Yes, sir, yeah.
But is that pretty much consistent, though, or just occasional?
Across the county or just
No,
for our
just for your
department?
district, just for your district.
It's becoming the norm.
Yeah, their average right now, by their data, is 5. But like he said, they implemented a paper call, and that was something that we discussed with them and with county management last year when they came and was looking at the tax increase. As he said, they had some calls where they were not putting out the minimum. Last year, I believe it was around 3 was the average when you take a look at all their
Right.
calls. That has now increased to 5, so it has helped. By doing that paper call, it's provided that incentive for the volunteers to come out to the calls.
And I would imagine by you having people there, that it has decreased your response time as well. Yeah,
Yeah, it's-
thanks. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions? The truck, are you going to be adding a truck or replacing a truck?
We're going to add a truck.
Add a truck.
Yes, sir.
And you already have the capacity to accommodate that in your existing station?
Yes, sir. Yes, we have one bay open, yes, sir.
Yeah, great. Okay, any other questions or comments, commissioners? Okay, we thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
All right, next we have the Odell Fire Department. We have Board President Lonnie Seaford and Chief Jake Williams. Odell is requesting a 1 cent increase. This will provide approximately $93,864 in additional revenue. And we'll turn it over to Chief Jake Williams.
I think Lonnie's going to speak first.
Oh, Lonnie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we at Odell have always tried to look ahead and kind of project what our district is going to be in the future. And as you know, that area has grown significantly. Can't remember now exactly what year, but we built another station on the Shiloh Church Road, trying to project that growth. And we've been planning all along to try to get where we could have personnel in that station also. And that has kind of coincided with the number of instances we've had in the area. And so we think it's to the point that we really need to man that station with personnel. Currently, we've been trying to use volunteers for that, but with the high call incidents in that area, I mean, we still get to it, but we'd like to get to it in a lesser time. Currently, we have an ISO rating of 6, and I'll certainly credit the board for helping us with that, and we've been able to get the equipment and the leadership of Chief Williams. We were able to do and lower that ISO rating, which has helped all our residents in terms of the insurance cost. And what we want to do now is we want to add that additional people at Station 2, we call it, which is the Shiloh Church Road, because that area up in through there and on up out NC3 has been a high area that we've had to service. And we think it'll be a great benefit to the community if we go ahead and do that. And I think Jake has some more numbers which he can substantiate everything with.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Lonnie. Appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you. I do speak very fast, so I'll try to slow down if there's something that you don't understand. The PowerPoint presentation, the previous slide did talk about when we built the station in 2008 or 2009, when we actually built the station. And it was driven by the state coming in and changing the fire district, and we had some area out there that was uncovered where some of the homeowners' insurance went to a Class 10. So we found the property, purchased the property, built the station, and as we continue to grow, these were some of the things that we started with. You can go to the next slide if you want to. In 2011, we started the full-time staffing at our Fire Station 1. We initially had them at our Station 2 just because of the facilities. However, we were not getting the results from the reduced response times that I was expecting because of the call volume, which is pretty much west of 73. So moved the staff from Station 1 back, or Station 2 back to Station 1 to reduce that response time for our community out there. Now we're getting where we have a large call volume out on the western part of our district, which is in the Station 2 area. So we're trying to put some more staffing there. So we requested for ISO to come back in 2013. Once we started the staffing, we had a lot of programs we put in, which was the pre-plans, the hydrant flowing and things like that, and we were successful with reducing the insurance rating from a Class 9 to a Class 6. All of the next about 6 slides that you will see are all verbatim from the ISO recommendations from what we received. Engine company is a portion of the ISO, so we achieved 3.26 out of the 10%. If you look in the 2005 ISO inspection, we achieved a 5.28, so that was reduced. The reason why that was reduced because you have 2 options with ISO. You can count your secondary engine. They allow you to count your tanker as an engine, or they allow you to count your tanker as a tanker. Well, for us, it was more beneficial for me to count it as a tanker because we had such a large area that didn't have water, and the only way I was going to get to a Class 6 was to count that tanker as a tanker and not give it credit as an engine. So thus reducing some of the engine credit we had received previously from the past where they accounted that truck as an engine. But we needed it for the water, so I counted the tankers, and we lost some credit on that engine. You can get to the next slide. One of the other recommendations from ISO was to purchase a ladder service company because the district is so large and the buildings that we do have. So you can see we did increase on that because we had basically a 250 pickup truck that we equipped with some service equipment to try to get some points. It was nothing that we had to maximize that point value. However, since the inspection, we have purchased a used rescue company from Mooresville Rescue, and I'll show you that later on in the slide. You can proceed to the next one. The credit for distribution for ISO, that was a 1.8. We did get that, and mainly because of the equipment we put up at the other station, so it increased just a little bit. Personnel increase, and you can see for mutual aid, you receive a little bit of points for mutual aid, and then the staffing, you increase a little bit. And that was just a result from having the paid staffing. We were able to increase the people we had on scene. Training did improve as well, and that's because I think a lot of that is documentation that we have now that we're starting to keep up with that, as well as having the paid guys. We were able to conduct some pre-plans where we previously hadn't done that, basically going out looking at the buildings and finding who owned the building, what type of hazards are there, and being able to track that, keep records of that. Hydrants, and that's pretty much verbatim is what I said earlier, and that's simply because of the paid staffing. We had guys going out, and we were painting the hydrants. You can kind of see it now. Some of you may live in the city. We're painting the hydrant tops. What we done, 4 years ago, that's because as the NFPA recommends, you could maximize that point value. And we were actually flowing water and testing hydrants, making sure we had water where we thought we had water. Which, the first little bit, that did take some time because there was a lot of hydrants that were shut off and we didn't realize it didn't have water. Same thing, inspection of hydrants. We got a 3 out of 3% versus a 0.59. And there's your basic result, roughly a 35% reduction in homeowners insurance for the people that live in the ODL community. And that varied per your insurance company, which insurance company has what the variables on that. These are items that where we were at and where we plan to go. So we purchased a new engine in 2014, purchased a used rescue in 2015. Our plan is to start, everything you see in blue is what we're planning to do this upcoming year. if we are able to obtain this increase. Work to meet NFPA 1720, which is basically response time and getting enough people on the scene. We are fortunate where we are. All of our help and everybody that's coming to us are all municipal departments, so we have that luxury. I've got help coming. Unlike everybody else in the county, we're surrounded by municipalities, and I get trucks that are equipped with people anytime we ask for them. Pre-plan the buildings twice a year, and upgrade and maintain the water points. The water points we installed back that we did the water shuttle, it's time to start doing some maintenance on it, which is basically adding gravel to some of the roads and upgrading some of those where the trucks have been utilizing them, and has kind of tore the roads up a little bit. So we're planning on to upgrade and put some gravel down on some of those water points. This was the new engine we purchased. We did purchase it on the HGAC contract, which is the Houston-Galveston area contract. And like Captain Bergeron was saying earlier, these things are out there. We paid up front for that truck, and we used that Houston-Galveston contract, and it would save us about $108,000 on that truck right there. This is the rescue company we purchased from Mooresville Rescue. We paid $150,000 for that truck. That truck spec alone today from the manufacturer as is, they have the build spec on it, was $683,000. We bought that truck at $150,000 with about 80% of the equipment we need, and this is going to help with our service company, which was one of the recommendations from ISO. This is kind of unique. I don't think there's any other departments in the county that participate. This may be better to see. This is basically a snapshot of AVL, which is the vehicle location. As you can see, some of the trucks up in the Brown area or Kannapolis, you can see the ODL trucks, which is I think is listed as ODE2, as well as the city trucks. This is pretty much if the trucks are in their area, that's what you've got pretty much coverage throughout the city in this portion of the county. You can see some of Harrisburg's trucks on the lower end. I think there is one city police car, so if you see a car that's showing like 4132 or something like, that's a city police car. They were playing with the AVL trying to get it started. I think the next two slides are basically incidents of a typical day. You can start seeing the coverage of the trucks. If you look at all the city trucks in green, those trucks are brought in for training. So some of those resources you have that are available, like Engine 10, I think was brought in on this training exercise. So some of the coverage or help I have out there sometimes is brought into the city to train. So that's some of the things that we're challenged with. The next picture is an example of training at Station 3, and they had a brush fire in Kannapolis. So if you look at all the units in Kannapolis, they were on a brush fire, and the city trucks were training. So once again, we're got a large area out there that we're by ourselves. So I'm trying to get some help on the western part of our district. This is an example of the call volume. That was a 2014, 2015. The blue markers are medical calls. The red are fire, and the yellow you see sporadic is duplicate calls at the same address. And those are broken up like in a Station 1 or Station 2 area, how we would kind of break it up. This is where we're looking. If you look at all those dots, those are where we have exceeded our response time. That is our Station 1 and Station 2. So primarily the calls that we are exceeding are in the Station 2 area. So that is my ultimate goal, is to try to work on the serviceability to the people that live in those areas, and also work on getting additional trucks or apparatus en route. We have a good response from our volunteers, but the response time is what I'm really trying to concentrate on and putting help in there as quick as I can. So all those areas, there's even dots right beside the fire station we've got. A lot of people take for granted when they see a fire station that it's manned 24 hours a day, and that's usually not the way it is, especially throughout the county. So roughly, this is just a breakdown of what it's going to cost. I just did property evaluation of a house, $25 a year to $30 to $35, and that's probably pretty close to the average cost of the houses in our fire district. We do have some elaborate houses that we do protect that are in the millions of dollars, but those are usually the gated communities and everything that's out there, but that's roughly what it would cost. Same thing, expectations, it's just what we're trying to improve on is getting additional apparatus out, and then trying to reduce that response time before the ISO. We're going to try to have the ISO, it'll come back in, we got about 3 more years before they'll come back. But my ultimate goal is to provide that additional engine out or rescue tanker with those 2 personnel, as well as working on trying to reduce that response time to some of those areas where, we're having duplicate calls constantly. And those guys are tied up on another call. And we do have a good show between volunteers. I mean, I would say we are very fortunate. We do have one of the departments that I think I've got 68 or 70 roughly on the roster. And, having the volunteer fire department is great. We have a lot of people that are getting certified. We are very fortunate. We've got about 82% of our department are all career firefighters and work for the city of Charlotte or city of Concord, and we're just fortunate because a lot of people live in that area. We don't face a lot of the challenges that the other end of the county does, so we're just trying to work to improve what we currently have. And I think that's everything.
Was that fire last night in your area?
That fire, so
Wellington?
we contract with the town of Davidson, and we contract with the city of Kannapolis. That fire was in the city of Kannapolis. However, the first due truck there was the engine from the station. Those guys actually had left. They seen the smoke and went over there, and that truck was on the scene, I think, approximately 5 minutes by themselves with 3 people. They caught a water supply and pulled the line, and they were there, like I said, roughly 5 minutes. I think Captain Kirk, he was on duty, and he was the second truck there. But sometimes in that area out there, just depending on where it is, I mean, you're by yourself for a little bit. And I mean, we've got help coming, and it's trucks that are staffed with people, but you're by yourself for a little bit.
So what does pre-plan every building 2 times each year mean?
So the pre-plan is basically when we send the companies out, and it's a portion of the ISO that, like I said, we would come in and draw this building out, look for the hazards, the shut-offs, how to kill the power to this building. If there's any potentially hazards with the air conditioning unit could fall on the firefighters. So we were doing that once a year to maximize that ISO credit. They want it done twice a year. So it's just to increase currently what we have. They just want it done twice a year.
And you're asking for a penny? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
right? 1 penny, okay.
And that, like I said, and that's to put 2 people at that station 2.
So currently, that Station 2 is not manned,
It is not manned.
except on a volunteer
Well,
periodic.
yes, to a certain, I do have a firefighter that lives there, currently lives there.
Okay.
And he's, that was part of the recommendations from the study that we had, try to make the department feasible. So I did have a firefighter that had come into some financial issues and everything like that. So he has probably lived there for going on probably 9 months now, and it's fortunate. He's not an interior firefighter. He's an older gentleman, but he's certified on pumps and driving EVD, so he drives trucks for us. So he helps us get tankers out the door and things like that, and that's very beneficial for us. But yes, I don't have any paid staff up there, but he lives there when he's not at work. We're fortunate to have that.
Okay, other questions? Okay, we thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I ask Steve a question that has nothing to do with this budget?
Absolutely.
Sorry, but you're here.
Sure.
So, to be a volunteer fireman in pick any one of our districts, are there like state rules that you have to live within the district or so close to the district? Or what determines if I wanted to become a volunteer firefighter?
Well, really, it depends on the department. They all have varying policies as far as their members and whether or not they have to live in the district or within a certain distance of the district line. So there's no state requirement, but the departments have requirements.
Okay. So, and the board of directors of that volunteer fire department determine what those rules are.
Yes.
Okay. So my comment would be, at some point, and this is purely selfish, so I'll be upfront with you, but there are students in the fire program who cannot go to a volunteer fire department because they live within the city limits of Concord, and they're not close enough to one to be allowed to volunteer. And that program was put in place to help our volunteer fire departments. And they're getting the same certifications as the adults are getting. I mean, they're passing the same certification test, you know this. So I would like to ask at some point, when you're having your meetings and your conversations, to find out if there were departments who would be willing to amend their policies, that if there was a student who was in the program, Fire 3 level, something like that, that there would be a relationship, an arrangement that could be made for them to be able to participate. I know of a student who is in Fire 3 right now. He's already applied, been accepted. That's his goal. But he lives in the city limits and cannot volunteer at a volunteer fire department, or so he's told me. So he's one that is his career, and if he had the opportunity, it would be a great thing for him. So just a thought.
Well, we can definitely do that.
I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, but I just think if you have a program in the county whose purpose is to get volunteers, it would be nice if we could find a way to build some more partnerships.
Well, I think the departments
If
would
that
be
makes
willing to look at, in the fire study, there was a recommendation for live-in programs. And the one thing about the volunteers, especially if they don't live in the district, they would probably establish something to where they could sign up for a time period in which they're committing to come and be there. So we can definitely bring that up at the next chief meeting and talk to them.
I'd appreciate that. If they're interested, I just think that there are some that, that's where they live. And they're not moving because they're high school kids, so, they don't have that opportunity. But if they agreed to come on Monday night or whatever night it is, then it would be nice if there was an ability for them to have that. Even, if they don't have their certifications, they can't go on call. They can't do anything when they go on calls, but they can go and at least observe. Is that right?
Yes.
So even if you have that relationship and they can go and observe, they're still going to learn a lot by watching these guys, because all of our volunteer fire department members are just phenomenal. So it'd be a nice, and some departments really, really, really do a lot of stuff already. I'll say that up front too. So I'm not taking away from that, but it'd be nice if the kids could get some exposure.
And we'll ask Chief Williams when he's here. Does Concord have a kind of a
We've got the
program?
Explorer. Then we have an Explorer closed.
Can you come speak to the
Sure.
microphone, please?
Sure. And Chief Allen, I speak, I think we just turned this over, but
See him back there.
we do have an Explorer post at the city. Of course, I see what you're saying. There is a lot of benefits of having somebody that can come to the department and kind of see. We're limited. We're there, 2 hours? We're there roughly 2 to 3 hours, and they do some training. Twice a month. But it's a little bit different than just seeing how the station life and how everything actually really works. It's tough sometimes and I'll speak for myself as the fire chief of Odell, but, looking at somebody that lives way out the district, are you really going to, are they going to benefit for paying their insurance or workers' comp and everything else? If you got somebody that's willing to come and hang out on weekends, I've got I think 5 junior firemen, 2 or 3 of them's in the program, and they're fantastic because you can always call on them, whether it's, helping putting water points in or whatever. They're always willing to come to help you out. And I think that's the biggest thing about having the volunteer fire departments in the county is, from the city standpoint here, we're always trying to get some good applicants in, and that's where they really learn whether it's going to be, a career for them or not. And I think if, having that volunteer aspect of it is very important.
Well, and for everybody else's knowledge, the new fire instructor did go to their last meeting, and I think y'all gave business cards out and everything else. So it was a really good partnership. But that's what that program needs, is the partnership to make it work. And I'll say, you guys are phenomenal. Everything that goes on, you guys are phenomenal. So just I know of one student in particular, but you don't want to make a policy for one student, but I know the one, and I asked him if he had any opportunities, and he said he didn't because of where he lived, so that's just something in future conversations.
Yeah.
I'm sure Chief Field will have conversations with you about it, too.
Yep, yep.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would concur with what Commissioner Poole said, because it's really not fair for the students that are in the class that live out, in the county, and they have a place to go, and then you got the students like she's talking about, that because he lives in the city, he don't have nowhere to go. So it's really a little bit unfair to him. So I mean, I've got a nephew that's in that Concord program, and man, he eats this stuff up. I'm telling you, that's just probably what he's going to end up doing. And he's got a couple of his buddies in there too, and they really like it. So I hope that you guys can take that into consideration so that everybody has equal chance to serve or do what they're wanting to do.
Definitely.
Great. Mr. Bergeron, do you have something else you wanted?
I was just going to say to Commissioner Poole that we have a program at Northeast, a junior program, and we have two students that attend our meetings regularly and provide information back and forth. They're learning from the school and from us down there. So it's happening in the county.
And it is, and they live in your district.
Yes, ma'am.
They're Mount Pleasant students
Yes,
who
ma'am.
travel every
To
day
Concord.
to
Uh-huh.
take the class. And
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is one who lives in the Concord district, and
Right.
that's why he
Right.
didn't have that option. A number of them are close enough to Coldwater that they can, if they're in that part, they're good. But if they're over in some other parts, they don't quite hit. I think we have one that's at A.T. Allen, that he lives in that part. So some of them can, but there's apparently some little dead zone somewhere that if you happen to live there, you don't meet quite all the requirements. So that's all. That was my point. But you're correct. Y'all do a great job. I know we can't get enough Mount Pleasant students. Harrisburg sends some to us. Most of the Cox Mill, we get a few. I mean, there are quite a few from around the county that will fight to get there to their junior and senior years primarily to take the classes. So, and it saves you guys money because they're checking those off. Heaven knows I'm grading those OSFM tests and sending them up to Raleigh. So they're getting those certifications that otherwise you would be paying for. So it is a good program. It benefits everybody.
Well, we'll definitely bring it up. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we are to the point of general board discussion as needed, which we have interjected several times throughout the evening. On these fire district requests, typically we make motions regarding those the same time we approve the budget, right? So we have the opportunity to study some of the material that has been brought before us, and we will have also a couple meetings between now and then, and have an opportunity to talk about that some more if we need to as well. So is there anything else that you would like to bring up that we have not covered during our in-between discussions?
Well, I was just going to say that, and I know that Kasha does a great job, but especially for these three districts, Midland, Northeast, and Odell, I would encourage residents in those areas to look at the request and to get in touch with us, because we don't typically get a whole lot of conversation, but it would be really nice if we could get conversation from the people who live in that district to give us feedback that are not necessarily on their boards.
Yes.
And we would like to, I'd like to encourage anyone, in any of the other districts, but especially those three that are looking at a tax increase that those property owners will be paying, to get in touch with us and let us know what they think about their proposed budgets.
Right, I totally agree, and they're the folks that would be impacted by the change in the rate, as well as the potential insurance savings, improving the rating. Did you, if you come to the microphone?
The one thing I've learned as the board president, you seldom get anybody to come to a meeting and say, boy, they did a great job. You only hear if there's ever a problem. So what we found out is nobody's screaming about anything, then we're doing a good job. And I think residents are not going to participate. I'm just sorry, but that's the way it is today. Everybody's running their own directions. But we found even in having our annual meetings, getting a lot of community participation is very difficult. So I don't know that you can count on that in decision-making. What I determined a while back, our board had to look out for the community and make the decisions that was needed, because they were not going to do so unless they didn't get coverage. Thank you.
Not a situation dissimilar to what we experience here as well. You can tell by the large audience we have tonight. Anything else that anyone would like to bring up before we adjourn? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. We stand adjourned. Thank you.